report just came in below expectations. It shows U.S. employers added 57,000 jobs in June, well below the 115,000 jobs expected. Meanwhile, the unemployment rate stayed at 4.2%.
I just got denied a job at McDonald's. I have a master's degree.
I just got rejected from Walmart as a cashier.
What's on the rules for breakfast today?
As you've seen from the TikToks and all across your own social media feeds, many members of Gen Z are struggling to land entry-level jobs and internship positions, especially with this summer season. Employers predicted only a 1.6 increase in available jobs for a class of 2026 compared to last year's class of 2025 straight out of college. In regards to internships, over 8 million students have applied, with only 3.6 million being accepted into these different positions due to a lack and decrease in posting of them. How long would you say you have been searching for a job before you were employed?
Around like at least 4 to 5 months since I left my previous job around December, early January. They weren't really accommodating my schedule, but at the time I thought I could at least get another job within 4 weeks to at least a month, but apparently it took around 4 to 5 months.
How many different jobs and positions would you estimate that you applied for between those 4 to 5 months?
Maybe close to 30, 40 jobs.
30, 40 jobs.
I really applied to anything at some point. Like it was, I think
anything.
One time I applied to like a FedEx like delivery driver, and you need to have like a certificate for that. So I wasn't real qualified for that, but I was still hoping to get the job. One time I applied to maybe like a hotel, like janitorial like kind of position.
You didn't get that?
Nope, they didn't even respond to me.
Wow.
So most jobs didn't even bother to respond to me. So.
Like you said, how often would you hear back from these jobs?
Not often. I think the main jobs I probably heard back from were, and even then still hasn't responded to me now.
How often would you be called back for an interview?
I think once like 3 times out of those like 4.
And between those 1 to 3 times, what would they often say to you at these interviews?
Some were just questions like, why do you want to be here, or like what skills can you use at this particular store or place?
They ever kind of specify what they're looking for in employees to you?
Not really. Most of the jobs were kind of like beginner, entry level, normal kind of jobs you look for.
So generic question, not really looking for too much.
Yeah.
And after the interview was over, would you often feel like you were led on by these employers? Like maybe they made you feel like you would get the job and you didn't? Or did they kind of leave it kind of just ambiguous to you?
Kind of ambiguous, but I wouldn't know until maybe like at least around a few days later.
You say you've been the victim of ghost jobs, which means it's just jobs that are fake. So you might go on LinkedIn or on Indeed.com and click on jobs and you'll figure out they're not real.
Well, I did go on Indeed, and most of the jobs, yeah, some of them are fake. I don't think I really applied to like the fake jobs, but I could kind of tell what jobs were fake and weren't. But most of the time, I would apply on the jobs from their actual website.
Would you say more than 3 to 5 times you felt like maybe they could have been fake?
Yeah, around that.
Between these 4 to 5 months, what different tactics did you try to get jobs? Did you ever try changing your resume, taking a different approach? Maybe going up in person more, calling more?
Yeah, most of the time I didn't really try going in person. There were a few times I didn't, but most of the time I would just try to call. After the week had passed, maybe like once every like few days, just to ask like where my application is in the process, or like where am I at in the application process. Yeah, most of the time I would just call. Rarely I'd go in person, but maybe I could have done that more often. But yeah, most of the time I would just call them and hope they'd answer, because most of the time they actually didn't.
Now you finally are employed after these 4 to 5 months. Do you feel secure with this job, or do you fear that if you leave the job and try to find a new job, whole process is gonna happen again?
I'm currently at right now. I do know that even if you do leave, still come back like fairly quickly. So,
how long have you been searching for jobs?
It's been a minute. I'm a college student, so Especially to start off the school year, I was looking for on-campus jobs, and then towards the end of the school year, I was looking for jobs at home.
What was your luck for both?
Nothing for now, at least. On campus, there was no luck because everyone was like, "Oh, just wait till the job fair," which is when all the students get competition for each of the spots. So like, I didn't really understand that. But off campus, like at home, um, it's just basically the same thing. It was just like wait until you're at home and then all the jobs start to become more competitive.
And what different types of positions did you apply for? Did you try to go in the same field of work or just a variety?
A lot. I tried to apply for both media jobs and jobs that like regular people work. Sometimes I applied to be an intern at like a local 4 or Fox 2 or something like that. And then other times I applied to be like a cashier, or even a retail sales associate.
How often do you
To the time I hear no within like 2 weeks. Mind you, I just got back home a month ago, so it's kind of crazy. But I got a couple of interviews. Then, like most of the time, they hear I'm a college student, and they just say, "No, we're okay."
and when you can't get hired for jobs during the meantime, how do you find ways to make most of it? I imagine that get crazy.
Yeah, sometimes it's just asking people for money. Could I borrow a couple of dollars? Especially my parents, shout out to them. Um, and then there's also I used to do that, but then the gas prices went up, and I stopped because I'm not doing that in this economy where you also have to pay back your taxes. So that's really not a viable option anymore. The real main way I have to try and do it is to just hustle, whether it's like put something like like food or book or something like that, or just trying to find little ways to cash out. If you have any money left over on like Cash App, Venmo, that shit's too.
Wendia, since you're an accounting student and between all the spring of this school year, you said you applied for 45 accounting internships and you were ghosted from most of them.
Yes, yes, I was. I applied to 45 jobs and I only got an interview for one. However, a lot of the places that I'm applying to, I have to do for the summer semester. And with accounting, most of the internships are during busy season, which is during the winter semester. However, since I'm also a resident advisor, I can't take off a semester. So it's been really difficult to be able to apply to these jobs, let them know that I won't be able to work in winter, and then get something back. That's been one of my biggest struggles. And along with that, just going and applying online has led to nothing really. If you aren't talking to somebody or if you don't know somebody in the field, it's really hard to get in to these different firms and companies.
Have you applied for more internships since that 45?
Absolutely. I've applied for either 10 to 15 more. I haven't heard back from any yet. Sometimes the process can take a couple weeks, couple days, or a couple months. I've heard somebody has gotten a phone call after 3 months telling them that, hey, let's do an interview. But so far, I've not heard anything, unfortunately.
Have you guys changing different tactics at all? Like, will they let you approach them in person, or is it strictly you have to do this online?
It's not strictly online. It's a lot of networking. So if I'm ever in a position to talk to somebody who is in the field, then I will absolutely go up and say, hi, I'm Lindia, give an elevator pitch, if you will. But even so, it's still hard because places just aren't hiring right now, or they aren't looking for interns at least. If they're hiring, they want somebody who has the skills and knowledge above an intern level.
But given that there's a shortage in the field, why they're not hiring that many interns if they really need people that bad?
It's the experience. They need people, but they need people who know what they're doing. And along with lack of knowledge, there's also the rise in AI. There's something that can do my job better for no money. And because of that, I can't get the experience to do the job, which we've had that AI shift. And while it's been helpful to companies, it's been really, really difficult to get in there because they have these methods of cutting costs.
Consider trying to incorporate AI with your job, like maybe show them that you're still using AI to see if that will change your chance of getting hired?
I've gone through a training module through AI. However, personally, I don't wish to use AI, which is also a ethical dilemma. I am willing to integrate AI into a job. It's just not preferred for me.
Do you feel like you have a choice, or do you feel like you have to
At this point in time, there feels like less of a choice. And if you don't use AI, you're going to get left behind. Professors have told me, use a cover letter or use AI to write your cover letter, use AI to write your resume. But at that point, I don't feel like it's really showing my skills.
And you mentioned job fairs. How many would you say you've been about between fall to maybe now?
Say 4. I've attended job fairs along with career excursions. So I've gone to a Pistons game and met with the backstage people, like the accounting department, HR department, to kind of network like that. And along with that, I've also gone back behind the scenes in FedEx.
So senior year, if you don't get an internship in accounting, do you feel that you will still have a chance of getting a job in that field or something adjacent to it at least?
I absolutely feel like there's still a chance. However, it's definitely harder to get a job without the experience.
Speaking of experience, today in 2026, we're seeing more mid and long-term career professionals returning to college classrooms to obtain their master's or even switching career paths, with most of them citing the reasoning for doing this at 60% being for higher pay. We went over to Belleville High School to speak with CI teacher Miss Curtis about why she decided to go back to school recently to obtain her master's in ASD education.
In order to better support my students, I felt like it was important for me to get a master's degree in autism spectrum disorder because of the population of students that I'm getting. So I figured if I got my master's degree in that, I'll be able to better support my families as well as my diverse learners.
When you decided to go back to school, did you feel as if having a bachelor's was enough to be able to financially support yourself?
No.
In today's economy, at least?
No, I think that getting that master's helped put me in the market to get to higher positions. Mm-hmm. I'm still in the field of education, but I feel like that master's puts me a step above. Mm-hmm. So I think that it was important for me to get that degree. Maybe an autism specialist or a teacher consultant, or I would probably like to branch out into transition because I'm very passionate about what happens to my students post high school.
And would you say now that you've achieved the master's, had it for 4, 5, 6 months mm-hmm. around, do you feel like it was worth it and that you could provide for your family financially more?
Absolutely, because in the field of education, once you get a master's, so I would get my steps plus having a master's, so my salary increases.
Would you recommend other people in education or just fields outside of education altogether go back and get their master's in today's economy where we're seeing inflation, gas prices, mm-hmm. businesses cutting costs and laying a lot of people off or just not hiring the way they were once before?
You know, I think people have to do what's best for them because let's not forget that obtaining a master's degree is also another expense, right? Mm-hmm. And the time that you have to dedicate.
Every career field is different, and the best way to determine if going back to school is worth it for your particular field is to do simple research on what areas are the best to master in and what employers are looking for in your particular area. With a rising number of bosses complaining about Gen Z in the workplace, we went to Divine Grace and Waste, a local shop here in Belleville, again to speak with Michelle Lynn about what she looks for when hiring young employees.
What I look for is someone that's a go-getter. Someone that is like you, to be honest. Grades mean a lot to me, but that's not the deciding factor. I come from a very poor economic background. My mom raised 4 girls, and everything that I have been blessed with, I've worked hard, and that's what I look for. Somebody that is going to jump over the pond for their customer.
And what would you say you feel today that maybe a lot of Gen Z employees might lack in the workplace?
The raw communication skills, and that, we are so technology driven today that a lot of young people, I don't know if they're afraid to reach out, and that's why they're behind their tablets or whatever. But it's important that we communicate face to face, build a relationship with our clients and our partners in business. That is what I think they're lacking.
How do you think they can improve that skill to maybe have a better chance of employment?
Well, I think one thing, and this is something that I did, I joined Toastmasters. Toastmasters, I believe there's one in Belleville. They offer, it's an organization that helps you build speaking skills. Okay. The other thing this is something that I was wanting to do here is offer etiquette classes. Those soft skills that we can all learn about.
A study came out recently this year that said 70% of employers hired employees based on skills. As an employer, do you agree with that?
Skill set, I think that is what's going to, bring that number to where it should be. And it's something that we all need to work on.
And as an employer, how would you say you typically hire?
My main thing is a go-getter. I want somebody, I don't care if you have a 4.109, whatever. But if you do not have drive, ambition, enthusiasm, you can have a 4.0 all day. But if you have a 2.5 and you got drive, ambition, creativity, and all that other good stuff, you're my employee. You're not my employee. You're going to be my partner.
So for you, you would say you don't always hire based on solely their skills, but if they have the passion and are willing to learn and improve.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
We switched back over to our students and asked them what they thought about the 70% finding in the study.
I maybe do, I don't know, 40, 60, but, it's around that ballpark, not exactly 70.
Kinda. I agree with the, specific field mindset, like a media job or a nursing job or a type of intern for like IT or something like that. Yes, skill matters, but I think for retail and like fast food, they really want experience and they want you to be long term. Like
Also a college student, I can say that if you're applying for certain internships or like entry level positions, like definitely, when it comes to retail, Lowe's, Target, Walmart, anything like that, they're mainly just looking for someone long term.
So, has the job market become tougher on today's generation? Or do they just lack the proper etiquette? And is getting a master's degree truly worth it in 2026 with today's economy? I'll leave that off for you guys, the viewers, to decide in the comment section down below. For now, that's all for our Fears and Careers segment.
We will be speaking with members from the Belleville Area News Foundation about the fundraiser and the potential future of the Belleville Independent newspaper. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you there.